Hey, what's up? HW here.
Hey, I'm the Seuss.
Yeah, switch it up. I didn't say, well, hello there.
I like it.
ToneX versus Kemper Player. This has to be the thing on everyone's mind. People are even calling this the ToneX Kemper. I mistakenly called it a ToneX earlier to you. Because I couldn't think. Player doesn't roll off the tongue yet.
Yeah.
Stage took a while to get there.
It's
Now,
all new.
now Player. A lot of people comparing these units.
Yeah, it makes sense. I've got a board built around the ToneX. It's on the channel. And I'm just looking down at that going, a player's going to fit really well right in that
there.
spot. I mean,
right there.
Yeah.
It kind of, for the application that you just described, you've got a board with effects in front and effects after.
Yep.
You fit the ToneX in there. You could be using the UA stuff. You could be using, does TC Electronics have something? Right.
For amps, yeah.
Yeah.
Or the Iridium or ACS1, yeah.
And you've got all your effects ordered, and that's just where the amp would go. And so ToneX is there. You could easily just throw a Kemper there, and if you've maybe got a massive collection of Kemper profiles, if you have been a Kemper guy, if you like the Kemper, boom, it just fits right there.
Right.
But you've also got some added effects that you may want to integrate.
Yep.
So... But maybe you don't.
Yeah.
So for that application, if you're just looking for the amp, where are you going?
It's a great, it's kind of like, are you paying for everything and you're going to use it all? Or are you just getting, is it worth it to buy the Kemper Player if you're just going to use it for amps?
Yeah.
Only that.
Yeah.
I think it's a little high for that.
Yeah.
Especially I like the ToneX quite a bit, and it does only its job. A little bit of verb, which I don't really use, because I've got it on a board.
Yeah.
But I could see using I've seen some people do a real small board, like a pedal train mini, with like one drive and like maybe a collider or something that does delay and reverb, and the ToneX. This is way better in that spot than the ToneX because of how much it does. You see what I'm saying?
So on a smaller board where you might want more flexibility.
It brings so much more to the table than the ToneX does, like an HX Stomp would.
Yeah.
But on a huge board, you see these guys with like, pedal train 3s and Mondos and whatever they're called, Largos.
Yeah. Yeah,
and they've got 20,
the
20 pedals on there.
Stuff. Yeah.
Putting the player on that board, it seems overkill. The board's already overkill, but this is adding like, what is it, 190 something effects or whatever?
Yeah, 144. I think.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. There's a little bit of a split there on how you're going to use the pedal.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of people wanted the player unit to just be a player, but what they gave us was more functionality.
Yeah.
And really, like we've said before, it places it more a competitor to the HX Stomp. But when the ToneX came out, there were so many people that said, "This is what I wanted Kemper to do."
Yeah.
This is the unit. This is what I wish capture with this. So far, the player doesn't profile.
Not that we've seen. Yeah, it may. We don't know, but
it's not in the manual or anything. People have talked about could the ToneX be upgraded to do double amps, one on each side. In a software update, could this be updated in a software update to do profiling? It certainly has in and outs that could be repurposed.
Oh, I got you. Down the road, yeah.
I'm not sure what goes into creating a profile really, but currently neither pedal profiles. But the ToneX right now is bundled with software that will let you capture stuff.
Okay.
The Kemper Player doesn't. ToneX, of course, has it's kind of part of that ecosystem of IK. So there's all of the guitar, stuff they have,
plugins and all that. Yeah.
But nobody uses those.
No.
Right. I mean, I had to install it when I got it. And I never had used it.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's not. ToneX feels like it's like it lives in the pool house of that whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Like it doesn't
Their
really
whole world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like I can just take all those effects and drop on my ToneX. Now, in the future, is IK going to come up with some product? 100%.
Yeah.
They got to come up with some product that integrates all of their.
More like the Kemper Player would. I mean, it's got all the effects. It's got all the
So then that's an interesting question. It's like if the next version of ToneX is a full board, or it's more like an HX Stomp style thing, does this fall at that price? Does it then do these two things kind of become a competitor?
It's almost like going the opposite way.
It feels like these two products are at first glance direct competitors, but at a little closer look, it's like they're not really direct competitors, but they could be depending on the use.
Totally. That's
if you
right.
just are using it for amp only, they're definitely competitors.
Yeah.
But if you want something a little more, I personally could use this Kemper Player as my only piece of gear.
Oh, interesting.
And I'll tell you why. Because even though I utilize some of the effects in the Kemper that are not on this unit, I have in the past, before the reverb update, before the delay update, this is all I used.
Right.
This is launching with, it kind of looks to me like, I'm not even sure about this. Does this launch with all the effects that the Kemper actually launched with? Because I'm looking in there, it has all the legacy verbs. It has only a few delays. I don't remember when delays got added or what delay, you know what I mean? But we've seen a bunch of updates. But I looked at the list and I went, oh, I've definitely played rigs with these legacy verbs. I did that for years.
Oh, yeah.
And with these delays, the double tap delay, the 2-tap delay, and I saw my vintage chorus in there. I saw the air chorus. I saw the compressor, green scream, and I went, oh, this is almost all my rig right now. I might just have to swap out the green scream.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Yes,
then?
yes.
So if I hadn't really thought of it as an all-in-one unit.
I would never use it that way. I was just saying.
I was just had a question though.
Yes.
So like, how would you set up your rig with 4 effects? Would you go comp, overdrive?
For me, I'd go comp, overdrive, amps, delay, reverb.
So no mods at all.
I would just, when I wanted a mod, I would just bank over, and I would imagine maybe I wouldn't have the overdrive on that one, or I could maybe ditch the comp. I don't run a very heavy comp. It's not. I'm not playing like
essential part of it.
Yeah. But or you don't need to.
And remind me, I don't have it. It's probably going to be on the screen somewhere, a picture of the unit. But like, what's on the front of it in terms of buttons? Like, do you have 2 performances? You bounce back and forth between?
So performances are compatible, as long as they, I guess, have compatible effects. So you can morph.
Okay.
All 5 rigs can morph. So your existing performances can be placed on here.
And you could easily go through all 5 slots on one scene or one performance?
Easily is up to you. I'm not sure how accessible it is. There is MIDI over USB, which
people are going to go crazy making MIDI stuff for this.
Yeah,
little matching pedals that are going to
the MIDI over USB means you can endless control from your MS3, like your Boss MS3 on your board. You can have it do anything.
That's
you
actually
can
a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be able to do that. Is this a fair comparison? This is the real question, I think.
Yeah.
Is it a fair comparison, ToneX versus the Player? And which would you buy if you could only have one?
For my use case?
Yeah. First, is it a fair comparison? Then, if you could only have one, which would you buy?
I don't think it's a fair comparison because the price makes it feel like the ToneX is a winner by a landslide.
Right.
But look at all the stuff you don't get with the ToneX.
True.
Where are the delays? Where are the mods? Where are the, all the stuff?
Also, I'll just point one thing out.
Yeah.
Like something that people haven't been saying. The Player comes with the noise gate in front.
Okay, yeah.
It has the pure cab.
Mm-hmm.
It has the space effect.
Yeah.
It has the EQ in the amp section. We'll just call them comparable.
Mm-hmm.
I would say there's actually a lot more parameters that is available to you to edit your sound.
That's
in
very
the
true.
Kemper.
Yeah.
But I was going to say it has the Kemper cone feature, so that you can actually run this with a Kemper cone, even if you run effects in between it, and it's calibrated to sound sort of correct.
Yeah.
And you have the speaker imprints, so you have. So I'm just all that functionality
and liquid functionality
and the liquid profiling functionality. Yeah. But the speaker imprints, like if you are going to run it with the Kemper cab, I mean, you are getting that added benefit of what they've built by saying these speaker imprints actually resemble amp in the room speaker response, even on this little unit. So even if you place it on a pedal board and you go play live, you would probably defeat that. Mm-hmm. But if you want to just bring it home and plug into a real cabinet and play it in your house,
that's
or in
really
your room,
true. That's
you have the speaker imprint. So basically, that functionality of on the stage or at home or in the studio, kind of is shrunk down into that unit. It's a flexibility.
It's not just effects that you're getting with the added price. It's all that stuff you mentioned, which is really, I mean, that's very true.
Also, Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Now, I don't fault the ToneX, actually. I have no problem with the ToneX editor, like librarian thing. To me, it's like bonehead simple. It does very little. It's just sort of meant to drag and drop.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ToneX, actually, when you said all that, the ToneX by comparison is actually very simple and doesn't give you tons of control over like the definition and the clarity. All that stuff's not there. It's, you got 10 controls or whatever with the alt,
and maybe that is really one of the great things about it. Yeah.
I mean, and that's how I use it. I used it last weekend in church, and I just pulled up a profile or a sound or whatever, and they said, hey, can you take the highs down a little bit, reach down, boom, and go, that's perfect.
There it is.
And I played the rest of the day with it. Never touched the sound again. So if you're that kind of a player, I want a good sounding amp. This is the guys using the UA, Ruby, and Dream. It's that sounds like a Vox. Let me move on with my day. Then I would go ToneX. But there's so much control and so much good sounding parameters and all the tweaking you can do with a Kemper for $700.
I mean,
I don't know.
And I will say this: if amps running in stereo are important to you, you definitely would go ToneX.
Right.
Because for only $100 more, you would get 2 ToneXs pedals.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for $800.
So you'd be spending more, but if that's functionality you want, that's definitely the way you would go. And if you're that person anyway, you're probably not wanting each side to have the delays built in. You probably got all that parsed out already. You're already running a stereo, signal chain.
But this is not the question you asked, but I would way rather use the player than an HX Stomp. Ship has sailed. For the same price, the same functionality.
Yeah.
That thing is... Thank you, John.
There is a reason we're not making that video, and that's because it would be 10 seconds.
It might be just that clip. What was the second question you asked?
Which would you buy if you could only have one?
Okay.
Which would you buy?
I would buy the ToneX if I could only have one. Because here's the thing. I've been using the Stage for 5 years. That's my main rig when I go play out of town or at church or anything. I never bring anything but the Stage. So when they're offering this pedal that goes on a pedal board, my thought is, oh, cool. I don't want to use the delays. I don't want to use the reverbs. I don't want to use the overdrives. I want to use my Timmy and my Timeline and my Big Sky. Those are my favorite pedals. All I want from something on the board is just the amps. So then at that point, I would look at $400 and $700 and go, yeah, I'll just get the ToneX.
That's really interesting. If I could only have one, I'd take the player, and I'll tell you why. Kind of the opposite reason.
Yeah.
I actually have not been able to find in the market an amp solution that I want to play that I also love the delays and reverbs. And I don't really enjoy having my delays and reverbs controlled separately. So one of the things I've gotten used to with the board units and the Stage is I've spent so many years clicking one button and having delay and reverb sort of work together that in my head, they're almost one effect.
Yeah.
And so usually I never really want independent control over delay and reverb on the fly. I just want about 5 options and I dial them in ahead of time. And I sort of treat them like that. I have my galloping thing with the galloping delays with the verb. And then what I do is that the Kemper gives me the ability to morph. And when I just want more verb, it's that same sound, but just more verb morphed out.
I gotcha. Yeah.
So that's how I use it. And so when I've wanted to build a pedal board, I actually have been looking, what is an all-in-one delay and reverb unit that I love the verbs and does both? I actually have a really hard time finding that. I could use a Stomp, but I don't actually love the verbs. They're fine. But what I notice is all the multi-effects that have a lot of this functionality, they're always a little weak with the verbs. I feel like the best verbs are in the dedicated verb units.
The one that comes to mind would be like the Source Audio Collider. It has the Ventress and the Nemesis in there. It's been a while since I played one.
Yeah, and I actually didn't really know that that's what it had in it.
Yeah. But you're right. There's not a ton of options.
So for me, when I saw this, I went, that's exactly what I want. Because what I actually want is I want my amp and my delay and reverb to change. And then I want all the wacky sounds, all my favorite overdrives, my Cali 76 compressor, my wah. That's all the stuff that's not in the Kemper that I would like to be able to use. But in terms of the delay and reverb, I'm sort of like, now I'm happy with what's in there. I don't want anything else. I really like the verb. So I actually, for the opposite reason, I want it to basically serve those two functions, amp and like space
and everything after it.
Yeah,
time.
Maybe, I would take a chorus pedal. I would take better choruses in the Kemper,
but
for sure.
Time-based effects.
Time-based things, yeah.
So you kick the timeline of the Big Sky off and just use that at the end of your chain.
Yeah, dude. And I would much rather, because I also like adjusting amp gain with those reverbs and delays. So like, church kind of thing. I might have a more driving thing, but that's kind of more for my rhythm playing.
That's true.
And it might be a little drier. And then when I want to switch to my super ambient thing, I want my gain to just come back a little. Not too much. Like definitely the booster coming off, but even my amp gain, that's just how I have been setting it up now for so long, that I like having all that functionality, to the point that when I go to put together a board, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to like learn MIDI and I have to do all this stuff. I have so much to control.
That's true.
And then it sends me back to just like, I'd rather just use an all-in-one unit. And this feels like what I want to do all-in-one, I can do, but I get the optionality of being able to tap on.
So this may be getting ahead of ourselves with a future video, but if you're going to make a board around the Kemper Player, what's on that board?
Maybe a Cali 76.
Okay.
I mean, yes, some compressor.
Okay.
Maybe a Cali.
So you don't use a block for that on the Kemper?
Yeah, and the question is, do I get the big box Cali because it's cool?
I think that's the answer.
I mean, I think that's the answer, because why wouldn't I want to be right? And maybe the big box Cali with the better transformer and the clean boost. I mean, those are like $3,000 these days.
Ooh.
Okay, but that, maybe I go King of Tone.
Okay.
Just because it's
solid choice.
Something I like.
Lots of options.
Maybe I go like something kind of weird, like fuzzy weird.
Okay.
Chroma console. I just bought that.
Yes.
I'm into that. And then probably something like a Julia.
Yeah. Okay.
And like maybe something also weird, like a microcosm and a wah.
So everything in front, basically. Like you were saying, that's the delays and reverbs are taken care of by the Kemper.
I could put the Julia. I mean, would a stereo, would a loop be useful in the way I'm using it? It would. But I think the reason we don't have a loop, we were talking about this earlier, the reason we don't have a loop in this thing is that if you wanted to go stereo out and stereo back in, you'd need 4 additional jacks. And physically, the unit would probably have to become larger.
Yeah, it changes a lot.
Yeah, and we don't have one yet, but you notice the unit is like a square. So it looks much more like it's going to fit on your board. I mean, the ToneX is a hefty pedal.
Yeah, I think this looks, less wide for sure.
We'll see when we get it. But that's what I would do.
That makes sense.
Kind of weird stuff that's not in the Kemper, and then all my, I don't even want to say meat and potatoes, because it kind of feels like there's more than that in there.
Yeah, but your go-to sounds are all there.
My ambient, all my verb, all the stuff that everyone does these days. That's in there.
Yeah. I think the main reason I even use a pedal board is that I don't want all my go-to sounds. Like I want I want to pretend like it's 1998. I just bought effects and I got an amp. Like that's it.
Yeah, I want to feel like I can access cool new stuff without losing anything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Put in the comments down below how you're going to use it. I'm interested to see the community react.
Do people really integrate this with an existing pedal board?
Yeah.
Or do they build a new thing around it?
Totally.
Yeah. That's my thoughts.
People are going to use this as all-in-one. I can't wait to see it.
Oh, yeah, and it'll in the same way you use a stomp.
Yeah, it's just on the ground.
If you just want 2 or 3 rigs and you do that, it'll work.
It's a good limitation.
Yeah. Are we gonna get a Profiler Player XL?
Next video.